Entertainment.
Welcome to Business Over Beer, where entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people passionate about what they do bring us their stories and their favorite beer. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to get down to business and drink some beer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the second biggest podcast in the Pacific Northwest. We are still on the heels of those pesky Sasquatch hunters, but I have a feeling this episode today will bring us and make us reign supreme in the Pacific Northwest. This is, of course, the Business Over Beer podcast. I am your co-host, Ben Surratt. Alongside me is the man of the hour, the terror of power. Some people call him the space cowboy. Some people call him deadliest catch. Some people used to call him Stitches, but we call him Spartacus, Mr. Jonathan Kaler. Happy Thursday, Jonathan.
Happy Thirsty Thursday to you, Ben. I've been practicing that all day just for you. I finally got it right. I'm excited to be here. Excited for this episode. We've got a very, very special Business Over Beer. It is all of the flavor of regular Business Over Beer without the alcohol. And speaking of flavor, we have got right next to me, still in the time of quarantine, right there, my guy, the gangsta of Hazeldale, Mr. Stitches 2.0. He's still grimacing every once in a while, but that's all right. Are you guys down with the KNOPP?
Yeah, you know me.
Jason Knope, welcome to Business Over Beer, my friend. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm curious, though, is the committee still out, the naming committee, on changing myself from the Godfather, or to the Godfather of Hazeldale from the Gangster of Hazeldale?
Well, unfortunately, the nicknaming committee was scheduled to meet this week, but it got postponed because of the wildfires. We weren't able to meet. So
makes sense. That makes sense.
So the nicknaming committee is still reviewing that request.
All right. Well, I'll continue to wait on hold. No problem. Other than that, man, I'm fantastic. We could do with a little less smoke, but things are good. We're going to drink some beer. We're going to podcast. I can't imagine doing anything better at 4 p.m. West Coast time on a Thursday. Speaking of that.
Why would you make mention of the time zone, Knoper?
Well, we have a special guest from the East Coast, from Stratford, Connecticut. We have Bill Shufelt from Athletic Brewing Company. He's the founder. And they've recently opened a location here in the West Coast as well. Maybe Bill can tell us a little bit more about that today, too.
Awesome. Hey, Bill, man, welcome to Business Over Beer.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me on, Ben, Jonathan. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. We opened a San Diego brewery back in May. So I can be confusing about my time zone selection. I'll probably be more your time zone in the future than this time zone. So, yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you bet, man. We're really appreciative of you taking the time. I know you've had a long day. What'd you tell me? You've been on 15 calls today, and including a live panel.
Just living that Zoom life. It's a good thing about our company growing is people all over the country and exciting ideas and things going on. So it's what I want to be doing for sure.
That's awesome. Well, the life of a CEO, no rest for the weary for sure. Well, when I picked up my Athletic Brewing today, the gentleman who was selling it to me said that it is going gangbusters, that the feedback has been all super positive. He even said the Run Wild IPA. He said, I don't know why they called it that, but it's running wild out of our store. So So yeah, I think your West Coast positioning is pretty good. But so we always like to start with your business. So Athletic Brewing is on the on the forefront of craft brewing, non-alcoholic brewing. So why don't you just give us the 50,000-foot view of your business and what you guys are into?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words, and it is such a natural fit for the Pacific Northwest with the healthy, active lifestyles, IPA lovers, and just great beer lovers. But yeah, that's what we do. We make great beer that just happens to not have alcohol and be a fraction of the calories, where non-alcoholic beer had always been something that if you were drinking it, there was something wrong with you or some reason you couldn't participate in the fun. And we wanted to make it the full experience, full flavor, something that was like positive, aspirational, and people were proud of. And it's really something I came to in my own lifestyle. I was just like a normal, healthy, active guy with a stable day job who I would have never, ever thought I would have started my own business. And it just my lifestyle led to it. So, but that's also why it's been so fun building Athletic and marketing Athletic, is because we have built it truly to match our lifestyles and our community. So yeah, but yeah, it's just great beer without the alcohol, something that non-alcoholic beer has never been before.
I can't wait.
Oh, Ben, you look thirsty.
I am thirsty.
All right. Well, let's stop talking and let's do some drinking. So this is the Business Over Beer podcast. This is the beer portion of the program. We ask our guests to all bring a beer to share. And my goodness, you were nice enough, being in Connecticut, you sent us a whole pile of beer. So we're going to get into some of the beer you shared, but I want you to start with your beer, which is one of your newest seasonal releases. So why don't you go ahead and start there?
Cool. Yeah. So we're just canning it today, but this is our Oktoberfest, which will be out in the market for the month of September. But it's the first non-alcoholic Oktoberfest, really released on market anywhere in the country. We had an Oktoberfest in our tap room last year where we had 4 different pilot batches on tap for, like, we did a 5K and big food and everything. But yeah, it's a traditional Marzen. Just really authentic with a base of organic Vienna malt, super malty, not too hoppy, and just like a great fall beer as it starts to dip down in temperatures a little out here.
Awesome. Well, as I mentioned, I have the Run Wild IPA. What do you got, Canoper?
I got the Upside Down Golden.
Very cool.
There we go.
I have the Cerveza Atletica.
Very cool. Well, let's get after it. Prost, gentlemen.
Prost.
Bill, thanks again for being with us.
Prost.
Wow, look at that color.
It's not no duels. That is for sure.
Not at all.
Yeah, so that's a copper lager. It's kind of brewed to like a copper Mexican style beer, but it's our summer seasonal Cerveza Atletica, and it's on the market from about April to October 1st. Then our Run Wild IPAs, one of our 2 main flagships. It's a super sessionable West Coast, slightly piney IPA, but meant to be really approachable on the hoppiness so that anyone who hasn't been drinking and experienced the craft movement over the past decade or so won't get blown away. We do have double IPAs and stuff too. But yeah, it's 70 calories, made with all organic Vienna malt, and just meant to be super sessionable and approachable. And then the Upside Down Golden Ale is like meant to be our guilt-free golden ale. Really, it's super light, crisp, refreshing. 50 calories, crafted to remove gluten, and all of them are made with all organic grains too. So it's a really super clean ingredient bill. Just your 4 classic ingredients: water, hops, malt, and yeast. But yeah.
I mean,
I mean, for
You
anybody
can
who's listened to this show
smell-
before, we are beer drinkers. Like this is,
You can smell the malt in this thing. This
Yeah.
is like the nose on this is unbelievable. And then when you taste it, though, it's so refreshing. It like it's deceiving. I love that. I love that with beer, by the way. Like I love to be deceived. Like my nose is thinking, oh, this is gonna be heavy. This is gonna be like a red almost. But then you taste it and it's like crisp and refreshing. I love that, Bill.
It definitely goes well on like a hot day. They're great post-workout beers. Beer's always been drank at finish lines and celebratory occasions and everything like that. But alcohol is really dehydrating. It pulls the water right out of you. Beer naturally, though, does have a lot of electrolytes, potassium, vitamin B, D, calcium. So it's actually like a really rehydrating beverage. So.
That's really good.
I never really thought about that in those terms, I guess, because from a non-alcoholic standpoint, it would be hydrating, right? The alcohol wouldn't be hydrating though.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
The alcohol in beer is super dehydrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you remove that, you've all of a sudden got like a refreshing, rehydrating recovery drink on your hands.
Wow.
How's the
yours,
upside
Canoper?
down, Canoper?
Oh,
How's
it's
yours?
fantastic. The color is so golden. It's smooth, easy to drink. I would certainly consider drinking something like this before doing something athletic. And I believe your website even mentioned that it's got a lot of vitamins and potassium and stuff in it as well. So, I mean, maybe even a pregame type drink to kind of get yourself going, maybe?
Yeah, we do have some diehard fans that insist on drinking it before they work out. Like, I know one of our biggest customers drinks it every day before his workout. It's pretty funny.
Oh.
Most drink it after. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what I love about this though is it's beer, right?
Mhm.
We're drinking beer. I mean, I don't want to say we. I'll say I. So on this show we've had a number of ciders, we've had a number of sours. I mean, I'm a wine drinker, but I always come back to beer because drinking a beer has that. It just gives you that feeling of fullness, the mouthfeel, all of that I don't get from a cider, that I don't get from a sour, that I don't get from a glass of wine. And this beer, it gives you that. I mean, particularly the mouthfeel of this beer is so full and rich. And the flavors are really good. The hop is there, but yeah, it's really approachable. It's not over the top. I would love to try the double IPA. That kills me. A double non-alcoholic IPA. But I would assume then you guys are going for more of the sort of the bigger, hoppier, more bitter profile with that.
Yeah, we have both so we have all sorts of IPA varieties. We have like a juicy, hazy East Coast variety, New England type, that's like full of Amarillo. But we also, just on our pilot system in San Diego, our brewer Tucker brewed West Coast IPA that's like essentially like a double hopped run wild with a blend of 5 different Pacific Northwest hops. That's like a super bitter West Coast, but it finishes really well. And so we actually had a coast to coast bike ride that got in last Sunday when it was about 105 degrees in San Diego. And I had about 6 of those when I got back to the brewery. Went down pretty good.
Man, Bill, I want to talk about the beer, but I gotta know, man, what made you decide to get into the beer business and not just brewing, but NA brewing? Like, what was that? What is that story?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a leap of faith and an interesting road. I mean, kind of like everyone else in the country, I had never really thought about beer except to make fun of non-alcoholic beer before I actually went into the business. Before I went into the business of non-alcoholic beer, and but it was a funny thing. I mean, I I went to college in Vermont. I absolutely loved craft beer. It was as like Long Trail, Magic Hat, and Otter Creek was on the street of my off-campus house, and like they were starting to do some really great things. Those like early regional breweries, and just like fell in love with beer up there. And obviously, when I moved to New York, for those 10 years, I was just like hunting out the best craft beers I could get, and like beer is just an incredible pairing with a great meal, social occasions, weddings, things with friends, family. And when I was turning 30, about to get married, starting to eat healthier, had a serious day job at that point, and like to wake up, work out in the morning and feel good and be focused at work. And like even one or two beers during the night, during the week, like kind of throw me off my game. And I was actually training for my first ultra marathon, probably like 8 years ago now. And that last month, I just felt really good. And I slept so well. And I had stopped drinking for that month. And just like, it was almost like I was so on point at work. It was so easy to sleep and wake up. And I just decided to stick with it and stop drinking, but like really missed everything that beer and the community stands for. Like hanging out with friends and family and sports bars and good meals and wings and all sorts of stuff. And I, for like a couple of years, it was such a pain point. I would still do those things, but I'd like have a Diet Coke or like a soda water, and everyone would ask what's wrong with me. And it's like, I'm just like healthier and like I've got a race or something like that. And so I'd like made this positive decision, but like was in such a penalty box because of it. And like I'm a huge foodie and loved beer, and it was like such a painful spot to have that taken away from me. And one time me and my wife were walking to dinner, and I was complaining about like how I was going to have this awesome dinner and then have to have like a soda with it. And I was like, it's had such a positive impact on my life. How hasn't anyone made just great non-alcoholic beer? Like everyone would drink it and feel great. And she like grabbed my arm and was like, that's an incredible idea. You should do that. And the two of us like basically didn't stop talking about it for 2 years and researching and everything. And that involved everything from like sure business planning and like making sure the economics worked, but it was mostly more about like the process. And I hadn't done anything with the science I'd learned in high school and college for 10 years. And all of a sudden I found myself just like ordering the curriculum from all the brewing schools and reading through it and taking notes. And I like started to get a lot of, I'd never brewed beer before. But I started to get confidence that maybe you could brew just super sessionable beer, and like just by changing natural variables, and had this irrational confidence that like great beer could be brewed just without the alcohol. And
So just to interrupt. So did you make your own NA beer to begin with?
so I had never made any, and even in business planning, I never made any beer. And then 2 years into, yeah, 2 years, I was just reading textbooks, and like there's like a huge amount of delusion in this for sure. And 2 years in, I was about to start a new year at my job, and my wife was like, "You've got to quit." She's like, "Just quit your job. Just don't go in on the second." And she's like, "We can figure it out. We'll budget for it. And if someone else does this in 5 years, you'll regret it the rest of your life." And so I like didn't sleep for 2 days and just walked in and quit. And then kind of found out that no brewers are interested in brewing non-alcoholic beer. Got rejected by like the first 200 people I talked to. No contract brewers want to make non-alcoholic beer. So I like tried to set up this whole tour of like 15 contract brewers, and not one made an appointment with me. And so it was a tough start. And then out of nowhere, this guy named John Walker responded to the job ad also, which I had of course taken non-alcoholic out of at that point. And I was like, please don't hang up. It's interesting and it could be awesome. If you can just hear me out and don't say no on the spot, like tell me no on Monday. And he heard me out for a little bit and then called me back on the Monday and was like, I was definitely going to say no. And I definitely wouldn't have applied had it had the word non-alcoholic. But he was like, I have 2 young kids and I love beer, but it's because I love the ingredients. It's not because I love getting drunk. And he's like, I've been scientifically minded my whole life and I love the challenge. And yeah, John moved his family from Santa Fe, New Mexico to Connecticut to basically homebrew with me for a year. And the 2 of us just set up homebrewing in a warehouse.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And here, I'll change my background here, but we just, so this brewery was totally empty. It's about 10,000 square feet. It was just a warehouse at that time. And the 2 of us didn't know each other except we had met one day. And we just started homebrewing on Gatorade jugs in that brewery for a year, basically. About 9 months.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I'm picturing you guys sitting around a table with Gatorade bottles,
Yeah.
all that space around you, making beer.
Yeah, like just our thoughts. And
Wow.
It was actually so fortunate too, because John was he just approached it by the scientific method. I had all this research and he was like, even if we think this is the way it's going to end up, I want to start at this baseline and just change like 1 degree every day. And so we might change, for example, in the mash tun, he wanted to test out a range of 10 degrees, how it would affect like mashing in. And should we do it in 2 or 3 steps? And that was basically 30 different brews right there, just changing 1 degree at a time there. And so we do like 2 or 3 brews a day, line up a bunch of carboys. It was crazy. And, but like John was so thoughtful about it. And the great thing was too, that we had so much time together there just to like talk about the business and what was important to us. We did a great company handbook and I think put a really good cultural base in for the company too. That we've changed almost no words in that handbook over the last 3 years, even growing to 80 teammates. Yeah, it was me and John couldn't get any meetings for a while. Even trying to buy the equipment in the background, we had like cash in the bank and no one wanted to take our calls about it. And we did 120 investor meetings to build the first brewery, which 60 people ended up saying yes. More importantly, on those 120 investor meetings, we didn't have beer to sample. So it was just walking in, talking about non-alcoholic beer. It was like a crazy business pitch. But we found our people and they've been an incredible group of investors since. And we've just been really communicative and tried to take them along on the journey. And it's been really fun ever since. At some point, 6 months in, the beer started to taste really good. And we started hand bottling it and bringing it around to Whole Foods and Total Wine and stuff. John took the homebrew operation up to his garage and I started building the brewery in the background there. And we opened our doors in May 2018. So sorry, that was a long way to get home on how we started.
No, that
Perfect.
was
wow. Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing about our beer is that so many of the new non-alcoholic beers are this segment's growing, we're going to launch a non-alcoholic beer. And there's 3 technologies on the market. Everyone uses the same stuff from the 1960s or 1970s. And they just remove the alcohol with heat treating the beer essentially and push it out to market. We kind of started with the total baseline of if that worked, brewers would already be doing it. Brewers are so talented and thoughtful. And we basically just said we have to come up with totally our own process and make true beer. And John said before he moved across the country that we're not going to market if it wasn't great beer. Not just good non-alcoholic beer. It had to be real craft beer that he'd drink on his own. So
without compromise, right?
Yeah.
I noticed accomplishing greatness sometimes requires an unwillingness to make compromises, and that's not easy. Could you describe to us like what accomplishing greatness looks like to athletic brewing and what compromises you're unwilling to make in that pursuit?
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely started with product right off the bat. And it was, if it wasn't great beer, people would just go back to not drinking non-alcoholic beer. And that's definitely part of why we're going so fast and so big, is because we want to be the beer that people, when they try non-alcoholic beer for the first time again, I mean, there'd been no innovation for 25 years. So as people come back into the category, we want them, their first experience to be an athletic. And so they tell their friends about it, and it sells at retail and the category grows. But yeah, so quality is definitely the biggest spot we don't compromise, but also on values and on our team. And we're like super particular in hiring. And so kind of runs throughout our whole company. We have on every can, brew without compromise, right on the side there. It's our trademarked slogan from day one, everything we do.
Talk about your relationship with the brewing community. I mean, we're, in Portland Metro and particularly where we are in Southwest Washington, I mean, the brewing community is such an important part of our small business community, but they're so tight knit together. I'm curious as to how you and your business sort of fall with that community. I mean, are you tight knit with the rest of the brewing community, or are you kind of separated because you're in a little different category, or have they been, I don't want to say they, but is the brewing community welcoming to you and to your business and to your products?
It's been great. So like when we started, we faced a lot of rejection, but it wasn't necessarily like being mean, you guys are outsiders type thing. There was a lot of really nice attempts at advice there. People being like, hey, like, please don't invest too much money in this. Like, I've never had anyone ask me for one of those or something like that. And it's an incredible community, and I love everything that it stands for in terms of community, the occasions. It's helping people de-stress and get tighter together. The brewing community creates a ton of jobs, but it's also gathering places. It's hugely charitable. Like the per capita of charitability of the brewing community is off the charts, which is awesome. And it is very collaborative for sure. We definitely do like collaboration beers from time to time with people, and try to fit in the community like where we can, and help out where we can on different stuff.
You talked about the charitability, so talk a little bit about that as it relates to athletic brewing. So, and I mean, the impact is something that's really important to you guys, and the two for the trails is something that you guys specifically do. So talk a little bit about the importance of impact in your business, and maybe talk about the two for the trails initiative.
Yeah, it's been something that's been hard coded since like month one of business planning. And it's something where like our company is definitely has a big outdoors adventuring ethos, and we only get one chance at this earth, and it's gorgeous, and it's like a big part of everyone's health to have escapes in the world. Either that could be urban parks or it could be the most remote trails, but we want to make sure those are around for generations to come. And so we donate 2% of all sales to trail and park cleanups, and all sorts of tangential operations like Leave No Trace, American Hiking Society, Protect Our Winters, we're talking to, and different things. And but like 2% hard coded in, like, and sales, not profits. Like, so like it adds up really fast, and it's great because even a couple $1,000s here and there goes a long way to a local municipality trail system in terms of cleanup or boardwalks or signage. But then we do bigger donations to like national and regional partners, like we're like American Hiking Society, Appalachian Mountain Club, Green Mountain Club, and all different stuff. But we have dots all over the map on our website. Yosemite Facelift is a new partner for us, which is now going national too. But it's we've given well into the six figures this year, and are hoping to do probably $300,000 to $400,000 in Two for the Trails this year, all in just like incremental checks that go everywhere. And so the impact is really fun, and it's not only on the money. We do team trail days at least once a month, where in different regions we put groups together and go out and do trail cleanups and projects and stuff like that. And so, but also with how crazy 2020 has been, the world's obviously changed a lot in 2020, and our team kind of reacted and spoke to those challenges, and we huddled up internally and decided that like trail and parks is a great baseline, but we could be doing a lot more as a company. And so in April and May, as COVID got more serious, so many restaurant employees were put out of work and in such a tough spot. And bars and restaurants do an incredible job, not only building this industry, but all of life's special occasions. And so we donated 10% of all online sales through those months to the National Restaurant Association Employee Relief Fund, and donated over $100,000 to that. So that went out in small checks to all those on-premise employees who are out of work. And then, like, as the year progressed, like obviously in early June, like there's just like so much social injustice and upheaval in this country, and we wanted to support the less fortunate with less opportunity from the community up. And so we chose 5 Black Lives Matter charities and organizations, which we think do an incredible job of just building opportunity in their communities. And ended up picking 8 different ones and making checks to all 8 over $10,000 up to $15,000 each. And that's something we continue to want to do in the future. And as we work with those partners now, we're going to look at which ones we should scale up in years to come. And so that's definitely not a one-time thing. It's something we're going to keep growing in the future. And then actually the Pan Mass Challenge, so it's the biggest cancer charity in the country. They've raised over $750 million in the past 40 years for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And usually they raise about $60 million a year now, but with that race needing to go virtual this year, it was looking like a tough year. So we wanted to step up with a bigger donation, and where we had been a small partner, just like sampling and helping support the event in the past. We did a collaboration beer this year and made over 2,000 cases of a collaboration beer and did that all for charity too. So wow, that was about $75,000 to them. So at some point this is going to turn into a commercial operation again, I promise. But it's been a impactful year, and our team, I'm so proud of how our team has like responded to the environment and the world this year.
Well, bravo to you on all those fronts. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's totally our team and their voice in the world and seeking out like just like where to help. So.
Hey Ben, glass is empty.
Mine's empty too.
Join us next week for part 2 of this episode. You can be sure we'll be talking more business and drinking more beer. Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Idiocracy by Christian Leo. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Business Over Beer, a TH3 Entertainment production.